this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Time for a quick market update because I'll tell you this. XRP has little time left where it is in terms of price action. XRP cannot and will not stay where it is in this range-bound position forever. You know, as I said many times in the past, and it's important to remind people now, either we're wrong and XRP goes to zero, and then we find out we're all a bunch of idiot sticks, crazy XRP people, or we're right, and I think we're right, and XRP does eventually, at some unknown point in the future, hit a new all-time high, go into price discovery, and melt faces. I think that's way more probable. And here's a headline from You Today, and they write, is XRP finally in uptrend? Which I'm not surprised to see. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the video. But I want to talk to you about what's going on right now, because there's a lot of stuff happening on a macro level, and you can't look at just XRP in a vacuum. You can't look at just Bitcoin in a vacuum. You should look at what's happening in equities most certainly, and understand how that impacts the world of crypto, because really, and maybe even that's not even the most precise way to word it. It's more like just understand that risk on assets, when it comes to equities and when it comes to crypto, they're roughly speaking treated the same. I understand there's way more of a frenzy in crypto, so you can get a way, way, way greater multiplier effect here than in the stock market. Duh, of course that's true. But in terms of the movements, the general directions, my God, there's an incredible correlation. And data shows that once the S&P 500 hits a new all-time high after getting out of a bear market, which we got in January of this year, if you fast forward 1 year from there, it's 12 of the last 13 times it was up close to 16%. So if you want to play those odds, what's most probable? Stock market much higher come January of next year. And given that crypto does move in tandem, my for fun guess is that yes, rising higher. And of course, this is in line also with liquidity cycles in regards to central banks. Because that's what really drives this. I don't buy into the halving narrative that the toxic Bitcoin maxi trolls will shove down your throat. But yeah, if you're talking about liquidity cycles, sure, that makes all the sense in the world. So let's talk about this stuff. There's some good stuff, and I think by the time this video is over, if you have any fears, if you're feeling a little scared going on there, by the end of this video, I don't think you're likely to be feeling that. There's lots of good reasons to be very optimistic. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, XRP is 48.6 cents, Bitcoin's at 64,546 bucks, and XRP's done an okay job holding over the last 24 hours. The lowest it got was right at 48 cents. Bitcoin took a dip, got to $63,574, which scared the ever-loving hell out of the lettuce hens. Here's the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, the lowest we've seen in a hot minute, at 53 out of 100. So market participants no longer in greed. They're feeling a bit neutral. Take a look at this post. Because as I was saying at the outset of the video, there's very clear movements, correlation between the stock market and the crypto asset class. There's this post shared by Zero Hedge, put this out to their 1.8 million followers, and it's a chart. It's a chart showing Bitcoin in United States dollars versus the Nasdaq 100, which is an index that it's tech heavy, and it goes back 4 years to June of 2020. So the black line, that's the Bitcoin price, and then you have the green line, which is the Nasdaq 100. Looks pretty similar, doesn't it? Going back 4 freaking years. So you just gotta ask yourself, based on what we know about the fact that, when you look at the stock market, if it's, once it breaks out of those lows of a bear market, new highs are hit, like what happens a year later? Do you think that this is all going to crumble and fall apart? And look, I acknowledge it's possible, and always a black swan event could happen. Do we really think that's the most probable outcome? I personally say no. I sure as hell don't think that that's the most probable outcome. I can't say 100%, but if if you're going to keep seeing stocks go higher, and here specifically we're looking at the Nasdaq 100, because there is a very closer correlation with this as opposed to the overall stock market. It's the most pronounced anyway, but obviously, you know, or at least obvious to me because I'm aware of this. For the biggest moves, you can see it pretty clearly anyway. But I'm just saying, if this really is going to keep going, do you think that the correlation, for some unknown reason, it just breaks here after all these years? Because I don't think that makes a damn bit of sense. I think that it's pretty clear. Bitcoin's been range bound. All of crypto has for a few months now. It's scared a lot of people. Some people are getting impatient. You can see it in the tone of people on social media platforms. But it's not going to stay here forever. Do you think that we break way down or way up? And so I think up is the answer very clearly. And so if Bitcoin's going to break up, then altcoins ultimately follow. You're talking about, at that point, expansion of the market. And we haven't seen sufficient expansion in the stock market. You know, if you look at the Russell 2000, so the smaller stocks, not so much. But there is historic precedent for the Russell 2000 to lag behind what's happening with the larger cap stocks. So just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that we're screwed. You know, that in and of itself certainly doesn't. There is precedent for it to be lagging behind historically. And I also found this interesting. Chart analyst Tony Severino shared this Bitcoin price chart, and he wrote the following. Could Bitcoin be waiting for the U.S. presidential election before the rally continues? Historically, this has been the case. And so I don't have a ton of commentary on this. I just found it a fascinating topic of conversation here. But for those of you looking at the screen, you can see the point he's making. This will be the fourth election that has occurred in the history of Bitcoin's existence. And you can see in 2012, 2016, and 2020, it is true that Bitcoin did start to move up around those times and fairly precipitously, although in 2016 it does look a little bit less pronounced comparatively, but it did. I mean, he's correct about this. Does that mean we have to wait till the fall or winter to start seeing some serious price action? Well, if that's the case, then I mean, I'll happily wait. But it did make me think about what a couple of chart analysts, XRP chart analysts, have been saying that I'd highlighted in recent weeks, because they more than one had drawn a symmetrical triangle that hits its apex in November. And the expectation from these analysts is that, in all probability, XRP is going to have a major move up, even if not to an all-time high, but its first at least major move up much sooner than that, perhaps this month or in July. Because typically, as far as hitting the endpoint of that symmetrical triangle, when it comes to chart analysis, it usually is not at the tail end. It usually breaks at some point before that. It breaks out of the triangle, whether that's up or down. Now, since we're in a bull market, my expectation is that it would be a notable move to the upside here. But I just found that fascinating because I was thinking of that and the timing of the election, and that could be fairly close. So, I don't know, food for thought. You guys can tell me what you think about that. There's also this from one of the most popular analysts in all of crypto, Peter Brandt. 729,000 followers on X, and he's been trading for over half a century, quite literally. And so he wrote the following. And I'd actually thought about this before, but I don't think I've talked about it on the channel, but it's just another thing that's interesting. He said, on an inflation-adjusted basis, the price of Bitcoin remains below the 2021 highs and earlier 2024 high, despite the ETFs, the halving, increasing U.S. government debt, and all the hoopla. Bitcoin, what is your conclusion about this fact? And so, I think it's interesting. It's like, even though in our daily lives, everybody's aware that there's inflation, stuff costs more, right? Stuff very clearly costs more. You got to take out a loan to buy a loaf of bread. I get it. But when it comes to Bitcoin, what's fascinating about this is, even though this is indeed the case, that inflation exists, the psychological level that's important to people speculating in the world of crypto, it is that all-time high, regardless of the fact that there's been tremendous inflation. So the value here, much less than it would have been having hit that several years ago. But still, people don't seem to care. And it's very clear because you get around there and it just rejects. That's a psychological reaction. I just found it fascinating. This is how humans respond. It's not about the actual price. It's about how people feel about it in the moment. That's literally what it is. But so where's Bitcoin actually going to go? Well, a couple of the guys that founded Glassnode, they run this account on X called Tropic, and these Glassnode folks, they're pretty sharp. Here's what they had to say. Yesterday, we pointed the descending diagonal out for Bitcoin. It gives us two levels, either $64,200 or $62,400. We have now touched into the first level, but we have not seen a strong reversal yet. Hence, we may see a push down to $62,400 before this correction from early June is over. But when it is done, we expect Bitcoin to rally much higher into end of this month and into July. And so after they posted that, it is indeed the case that Bitcoin got into the 63,000s, though not quite down to the $62,400 target. Not that it would have to anyway. That's in the realm of what they were talking about, certainly. And at least at the time that I'm recording this, Bitcoin has rebounded a bit. Incredible Crypto, he's been talking about pretty similar levels, so it's caught my attention. Isn't it funny how the reputable analysts out there, the ones who very clearly have a track record of frequently being correct, the ones who are not fly-by-night analysts, isn't it interesting that they kind of have the same opinions on this, or pretty close anyway? And so there's this post from chart analyst Incredible Crypto, and he said, "Morning, fam. I see Bitcoin has just tapped the dream long zone." And what is the dream long zone? Well, he posted about it the prior day. This is from June 20th, and I actually shared it at the time. And he noted the following. There is only so much more we can compress here on Bitcoin. If this is indeed our bottom, we should see a breakout within 24 to 48 hours max. Adjusted the key zone to newly formed local supply. A breakdown from here, and we will find ourselves in the dream long zone, the most probabilistic place for a full-on reversal to form if we manage to get there. And so you can see the dream long zone at the low end would be upper 61,000s, and the low would be close to 63,500, which is about where we got to. So he's saying, yeah, we actually did tap into that zone. So from there, he's thinking, yeah, time to be a bull here. And in fact, in a separate post, he wrote, $60,000 will remain unbreached. Steady, lads. So he still has that very high confidence Bitcoin will not be going below $60,000. People are just getting shaken out right now. It's not going to matter. Full-on reversal. Bitcoin ultimately to over $100,000. He also does believe XRP this cycle is going to over $10. He said that on more than one occasion. There is this post from the blockchain backer, and he was sharing his most recent video, which I checked out. Here, the flush to watch. Altcoin market bottom formation, Bitcoin price chart structures right now. And I just wanted to mention one thing here. You know, he said, and this is a quote, "There's a very reasonable chance this is the bottom forming here." And that's the quote. And he's very careful with his words, which I respect a lot. You know, he doesn't go overly hypey ever. And so if he is talking about feeling excited about what's going on in markets, and it's been clear that there's some level of excitement there. He's, maybe a little bit of caution still. That, to me, that's of note, because you get very particular with his words. And so just noting, yet another reputable analyst here, one of the best in all of crypto, I would say, who believes that what's happening right now very well may be the bottom forming before a reversal. So it's not an outright guarantee, and he's made that clear as well, but that could indeed be the case right here. There's also this post from Mikey Bull Crypto, #altcoins. ETH BTC is in preparation for a breakout of the falling wedge price pattern, which makes it more strong than Bitcoin at the moment. Okay, so we'll see what happens here. Would love for that indeed to be the case. I'd love to see strength for ETH priced against Bitcoin, because altcoins, the rest of the altcoins, including XRP, historically follow that. So if indeed we're going to see that, then buckle up. And I'm telling you, as history shows us, XRP always finds a bottom in terms of price against Bitcoin. So whether the low for this cycle is already in or not, eventually one is found if this isn't it. And then there's this headline, is XRP finally in an uptrend? This is from You Today. And they write, XRP has shown investors that it is not the weakest asset on the market right now. The asset is currently in consolidation mode at around 48 cents, but with the potential formation of a higher low, XRP might enter an uptrend. And so I don't want to read the whole article. I try to get away from, just spouting a bunch of technical analysis from various analysts. I like to share their opinions and kind of see where there's a lot of overlap from analyst to analyst. But I wanted to highlight this because it's been very obvious over the last several days or so. XRP has been performing very strong compared to the rest of the market, broadly speaking, including Bitcoin. As Bitcoin has been struggling, it's just been interesting to see that, even a few days ago, I'm sure most of you caught this, and I talked about it at the time, but XRP was up at one point, about 5%, while Bitcoin was down, 2 or 3%, 4%, whatever it was. And it's just fascinating to see that. The rumors of XRP being dead, a bit overstated, let's say. It's very clear XRP is incredibly alive. But you can pick all sorts of metrics. Look at more people building on it, more wallets, bigger community, just whatever you want to talk about. It's those things are going in the right direction. And so to think that XRP is not going to participate in a bull run, if we actually have proper expansion of the crypto markets, to think that XRP is not going to participate is absolutely foolish, and it makes no sense, and there's no historic precedent for that to be the case. Like, you're just, if you think XRP isn't going to go, you are wrong. This thing's guns to blow. Just saying here. So you guys let me know what you think, but I'm very optimistic. I'm ready to get out of here, and break to the upside. I'd like to see that. But I am patient AF. I'm the most patient person in all of crypto. And I mean that. I'm telling you what I want. I'd prefer for the number go up now, sure. But I actually genuinely don't feel the least bit impatient. If I were the type that got impatient after holding for years, eventually I'd be like the majority and I'd fail. I'd fail at investing in crypto because people do not have sufficient timelines in mind when they invest. And it's not going to go exactly how you want or hope it will, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. But regardless, the people that make it, and the data just shows it, it's the people that just buy stuff and then don't tinker with their position. It's the people that hold for long periods of time, because you don't control when the market goes. But if you've been here for a while and you've just been holding for a while, eventually you get to reap the rewards. That's just how this works. It's not really much more complex than that, honestly. So, just gonna sit tight, and eventually you wake up one day and it's just running. And I've been through enough days like that. They're few and far between, but my God, they're a lot of fun. And yes, we're gonna have even more of those, but weak hands have to be shaken out, and then the ride's gonna resume to the top. I don't pretend to know exactly when it's gonna happen, but I tell you this, I will be here when it happens, because I am more stubborn than anyone else that's investing in crypto. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.